I'm an artist and I'm an activist. As an artist, I work to express myself so that I can be understood on a visual level. As an activist, I work to build communities around issues that need attention. And for the past few years, I've been producing large-scale art installations that engage hundreds and thousands of people to act on behalf of a social cause. It's in this space where my artist and activist meet, where it becomes most clear to me that art is an incredibly powerful tool with which to build and inspire a community, and to connect people with an issue in the most personal of ways. Through my experiences working on these installations, I've come to recognize the importance of creating a visible movement based on civic engagement and participation. At this moment, I believe that the tangible is crucial, that people need to understand their role in a movement if they're going to consider participating. They need to see that they can take ownership in that movement and have their actions followed by a reaction. Phone calls, letters, and emails to decision makers play an extremely important role, but not enough people do them because they doubt their individual correspondence makes a difference, which leads to inaction, nothing changes, and people give up hope. And it's these thoughts that have inspired my new project. I want to pile 1 million fabricated bones made by artists, activists, and school students on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. The idea is called 1 Million Bones, and it is my personal response to genocides that are happening today. 1 Million Bones is a visible movement and art installation recognizing the millions of victims who have been killed or displaced by ongoing genocides. The mission is to increase awareness of these atrocities while raising funds that would help protect, aid, and advocate for displaced and vulnerable victims. The idea is to get 1 million people to each create one bone representing one victim. Installed together, these million bones will flood the National Mall in Washington, D.C. like a mass grave, unearthing the memory of the millions of genocide victims who have suffered under our watch. Each bone is sponsored for $5, raising $5 million to be donated to our beneficiary partners who work to protect, aid, and advocate for displaced victims of genocide. Another big part of the project is the educational component, where we're reaching out to educators, asking them to bring the project into their classrooms as a way to engage their students about conversations about the wrongs of intolerance and genocide. Intolerance, which is a root cause of genocide and which exists at all age levels. But that we can heal a bone that's been broken by intolerance by acting up and by speaking out against it. There's also another way for people to participate if they don't see how they can create a bone. For a $15 contribution, a bone can be made and sponsored in their name. And these bones will be made of biodegradable materials that will have seeds inside. So at the end of the installation, they'll be distributed throughout communities to be buried with a foreseeable future of growth. As a visual artist, I tend to understand things better in a visual context. And so the idea of recreating a mass grave struck me as a way to express the gravity of this issue to a multitude of people. I knew that viewing a mass grave would have a profound impact on me, that my grief would move me to take action. But most of us will never view a mass grave. And most of us will never understand what a pile of human bones looks or sounds or smells like. And even though that installation would not be an actual grave, it would represent those graves that are being filled today on our watch, even now as we're sitting here. In 1994, during the Rwandan genocide, National Security Advisor Anthony Lake stated that if the United States government was to support effective action to stop the genocide, then the American public must make it clear that's what they want. He encouraged human rights advocates to make more noise and thereby direct the US government's response to the crisis. Well, I want us to make noise today. In Sudan, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Burma, in places around the world, people are being denied the right to exist. Governments are murdering their people, and our governments are responsible by international law to intervene. But we as their citizens must tangibly pressure them to do so. By installing 1 million bones on the National Mall, I am demanding that the people, the journalists, and the politicians, that they pay attention. And I do believe that 1 million people standing and acting and speaking in one place at one time against one issue will create a noise impossible to ignore. I've talked about this project a lot, but I don't always get to talk about the work of art that 1 Million Bones is. Yes, the art is the visible installation, but it is also the collaboration, the mosaic of voices and actions that are brought together through the work. It is also the tangible change on individual lives made from funds raised and political will inspired. And it is also the experience that each participant goes through as part of it. And all of these layers are captured in the symbol of a bone. What a bone is, what it means to any one of us and every one of us. Our bones are what remain when we pass from this world. They are the physical evidence that people and that individuals ever existed. And when I think about what the evidence of a life or an existence actually means, I think of the Madres de la Plaza de Mayo, who are the mothers of the disappeared children from Argentina's dirty war. What would it mean for these women to uncover the evidence of their disappeared children? Children whose bodies and whose bones were never found. What would a single bone mean to these women? And if the bones of those murdered in Rwanda were piled in the streets of Washington, D.C., would we as a nation have been brave enough in the face of that evidence to have called it a genocide? Would we have done that? And would we have acted? On another level, these bones, made by 1 million different people, testify to our common humanity. There is no denying that we are all united by our physical makeup. 1 Million Bones is a call to every one of us, whether we have ever made anything with our hands or not. It is a call to you to consider what it would mean to study your own anatomy, to choose a bone in your body and think, what does that bone mean to me? What ability does it allow me, and what value do I place on that ability? Because what we value is what we take actions to protect. And then think what it would mean to recreate that bone that exists in your own body as a symbol of the life and the ability lost when a person is a victim of genocide. And what would that experience mean if you knew that what you created could then serve as your voice, your action, and your testimony? That we lose far too much when we allow genocide to continue. That never again has got to mean never again. I carried this picture in my head for a long time. In fact, I meditated on it before I actually photographed it to be the image that would carry the project. As you can see, there's two blindfolded figures trying to find each other in a road of bones. The image suggests that in an afterlife, however that might look to you, without our physical senses to guide us, we would have to rely on our shared history and our shared experiences to find each other. We share a history with every person living right now, and therefore we are connected and play a role in shaping our shared humanity. These figures could represent any one of us. The bones, they represent every single one of us. Archbishop Desmond Tutu says that my humanity is caught up, is inextricably bound up with others. We belong in a bundle of life. A person is a person through other people. At some point, if we decide to look back, we are going to have to acknowledge that the history we lived and were a part of allowed genocide. That never again became again and again on our watch. And all I know is that I'm not okay with that, because there are solutions to stopping and preventing genocide. And as a part of humanity, for the sake of humanity, as individuals, we can use our voices and our actions to tell our government and the international community that we want those solutions to also be a part of this history of ours. Thank you.